tribute to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II from Sarah Atherton, Member of Parliament for Wrexham. Hello, Sarah, and welcome to Premier Radio on this sad occasion.
Thank you. It is very forlorn times we're in, so thank you for having me.
Could we start by asking you some things that you personally know about the Queen or remember about the Queen from meeting her and sort of seeing her in action, if you like, both on TV and in person as well? Yeah,
I've never actually met her close up. Like so many constituents that have contacted me, they've said, we never met her, but we feel such personal loss, and we all do, and I do. And when I heard the news, the first thing I wanted to do was to get back to Wrexham and surround myself with family, as many of us have done over the last week or so. I pledged, as you have, allegiance to our Queen when I joined the army back in the late 80s. And I did so again in 2019 when I took my oath as a Member of Parliament for Wrexham. And those two occasions I hold very dear to me. I saw her at distance when she opened Parliament soon after I was elected. I was lucky enough to just see her from a distance in the House of Lords, and she was absolutely beautiful in her robes and jewels, and she shone. She was an absolute beacon of light, and she looked very ethereal. And I remember that was the first of many times, and I've, since being in Parliament, had quite a lump in my throat when I listened to her address the Lords and Commons. So like many others, I never met her close up, but she's part of my family, as with everyone else in Wrexham. And we're sharing a very deep loss at the moment. And it's a strange time because there are two things running in parallel here. We've got the death of our dear beloved Queen, but we've also got the succession to the throne of our new King, King Charles. So it's been really interesting times, historical times in Parliament for me. I've had to get my history books out to try and find out exactly what all the protocol means. So Prince Charles, as King Charles III, addressed Parliament on Monday, and I was in the audience along with 1,000 others from the Lords and Commons, where Prince Charles asked for our allegiance and our commitment to him. And I had to look up what was actually going on before I went into that occasion. And I think it's really interesting now because we see hundreds of years of constitutional history coming back to life in protocol and pageantry that we now see. So it's very special times. There's a lot going on. There's two channels going on at the moment with our new king and laying to rest our dearly beloved Queen.
And as you point out there, I mean, you and I and quite a lot of our listeners have known the Queen all our lives. We've known nothing else but the Queen. There will be some listening to this that may have remembered the Queen coming into power as she did back then. But all this time, that individual has had her own family. She's also been our leader of the country, but she's always held it with such strong dignity and integrity and stability without unduly upsetting anybody in the way she goes about it. So she is a phenomenal individual that I think the world, especially ourselves in the UK, will hold dear to our hearts, because there aren't many people who we can actually turn to these days and say, that person is a beacon.
Right, she's a world leader, and she's really set the tone of impartiality. I mean, I think she's seen 15 prime ministers go through her door, and she's been the epitome of humour, dignity, humility, impartiality, all the way throughout. And she's certainly, a role model for any of us when we look at her selfless dedication, not only to Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the territories, the Commonwealth, but globally. And she's going to be sorely missed.
And over the years, I mean, I remember as a child as well, the Queen and her late husband visited Wrexham and North Wales on numerous occasions.
She certainly did. She visited, I remember her visiting in 1998 when she opened Waterworld, our leisure centre. And that really goes to show that she knows, about what the sense of community is and what's important to community. But she came in 1953 with her coronation tour, and then again in 77 with her Jubilee tour. And I think it's really lovely that on the 1st of September this year, one of her last duties was to award Wrexham city status. So in every milestone in her life, she's been involved with Wrexham. And of course, she was Commander-in-Chief of the Welsh Fusiliers and visited Hightown Barracks in 2003. So, she's quite intertwined with Wrexham and how we've progressed over the decades.
Let's hope now that King Charles can follow in the footsteps. And I know he's been quite active in his role as a prince. But obviously now taking over that mantle is one huge step for mankind, as it was 1969. I think I remember watching it on my school lunch break, watching the first man on the moon. So he's now got some big shoes to fill. And who knows? I mean, we could be seeing him coming into Wales and into Wrexham as well.
That would be very nice, wouldn't it? I mean, he only needs to look at his mother to find the role model that he needs to go forward. And from what I've seen and heard so far, he's going to be following in his mother's footsteps. He's announced William as Prince of Wales, but we're yet to have a royal visitors to celebrate city status. So wouldn't it be lovely if our new king started off by coming to Wrexham?
Well, it would indeed. I mean, obviously, it's a critical part of Wrexham's stepping forward and creating its own history by coming to the city. And what better way for him to honour his mother and say, I will take up that mantle and come along as well. And who knows, it could be a double-jointed affair where it's tied in with, as you said, Prince William being honoured as Prince of Wales. And who knows how they're going to play this one out, because I think looking at what I've seen so far and reading things about how the new king is approaching life, he's looking to do things on a more economic basis rather than wasting time and money. He's quite focused on that, which I think is enlightening to see. So rather than having 15 or 16 different castles dotted around the country sitting vacant and then 2 weeks of the year they're used, he's looking at other options for these, which I think is very, very good.
Yes, I think he's going to probably look at modernising the royal family, but whilst holding on to the traditions that we all love and share. I mean, I heard this morning that the queue to go and pass by Her Majesty lying in state is 2.8 miles. We like our traditions in this country, and the world looks at us with envy when we have our traditions. So I hope he holds on to them. By the looks of it, he very much wants to do that. But I think he's also pragmatic. And he's also realistic, and he's also looking at how the royal family can go forward, not just for him, but for William and then for George. So it's going to be interesting times, but I'm feeling pretty good that he's going to make an excellent monarch.
It is a bittersweet moment. We've got the passing of Her late Majesty. We've got a succession now of King Charles coming in, whereas normally we would want to celebrate immediately the new king, but we can't neglect the importance of what is yet to come on Monday, but then look forward to some more celebrations for when the king actually is put on the throne officially. So it's quite a mixed emotion for the whole country, I think, at the moment, isn't it?
It is. It almost seems a shame that you can't celebrate the king coming to the throne. But I'm directed to wear black. And I have done for the last week, and we all have to follow parliamentary protocol. But it is a very mixed emotional time, and everyone deals with this in their own way. As I say, I just wanted to be surrounded by my own family. Having never met the Queen, I felt this loss, and quite a few times this week. I've had a bit of a lump in my throat and full eyes full of tears. It is very special, and we all need to deal with it in our own way. And I think Monday is going to be a particularly sad moment. But I think from there on in, we look forward.
Let us all hope and pray that we're not too long away from a royal visit into Wrexham. As you say, with Wrexham now gaining city status, this would be a lovely way to honour his mother and to sort of pay recognition to the fact that we now are a city rather than a town.
I think you're absolutely right. And one thing I've been surprised at is how the Queen touched people of all ages, and how many young children I see standing in that queue when I left London last night. But they're holding on to their Paddington Bears. And I think we remember the Queen in her last television appearance taking tea with Paddington Bear. And I think the surprise for us all, although after 70 years of selfless service, she was a grand age and we were prepared. I think seeing her 2 days before the sad announcement of her death, shaking hands with the new Prime Minister with that beautiful smile she always had for everybody, I think it came as a shock to us all when we had the news.
It's not as if this is a first ever that's ever happened of a passing of a monarch. But I think with the speed of the media today, we can see things happening as they unfold immediately rather than a day or two later. And
yes, I've been looking at King Charles and the amount of engagements he's had over the last week. And I've also looked at when he's been going on his engagements, how many people sort of put a mobile phone right up in front of him. And I don't know, that doesn't sit comfortably for me. But this is what the monarchy is doing. It's opening itself up to the public, and we can now see things that we never saw before. And that can only be a good thing. And it's modernising, and it's showing the people the constitutional processes that they would go through. And on Monday, for example, when King Charles addressed Parliament in Westminster Hall, it really brought the history to life about King Charles I and how the parliamentarians weren't happy with what he was doing and, effectively executed him. And then here he is, sat 2 foot on the same spot where me as a parliamentarian 400 years ago in 1649 said to his predecessor, well, we're going to execute you. And it's understanding that history, and it's bringing it to life, not just for me, which was an absolute privilege to stand there and shout, God save the King, on behalf of the people of Wrexham, and showing Wrexham's allegiance to our new king, but showing younger people, this is our monarchy, this is our heritage, this is our culture, and it belongs to all of us. So I think opening up and modernising with having the cameras there is a good thing, but by Jove, it must be difficult for that family because they've lost their mother.
And it would be very nice to hear in the coming weeks and months any of the people of Wrexham that have actually made that pilgrimage down to Westminster to get their thoughts on why they did it. Why did they travel so far? What was their reasoning behind it? And then, like yourself, they may never have met the Queen in person, but she has this form of, she's like a magnet. She just attracts people, and people's attention are drawn to her. Even if you've never met her, if you've never been in the same room or even in the same town as her, people think that they know her because of who she was and how she portrayed herself. So it'd be nice to get some feedback from anybody that's listening if they've made that pilgrimage down to Westminster.
Yeah, she was sort of an absentee member of everybody's family. And I think we thought she was going to go on forever in a very childish way. She would never leave us. She was always there in the background. And she was, through all this challenge and change of 70 years, or in my time of 50 years, she's always been constant. She's always been there. She's always been a face that reassured us. And I just don't think we quite expected her not to be there. I was looking at my stationery today in the office, and the first thing I noticed was on the franked envelopes, the Queen's head. And she is absolutely everywhere on our letterboxes, telephone boxes. It's just going to be a very strange time, but we'll go forward and we'll support our new king.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today to put this tribute towards Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I'm sure that everybody in Wrexham have got the same thoughts and feelings as we all have. And as you say, we will get through this. It might not be easy, but we will get through it. And we do look forward to you coming back in a more lighter vein in the next month or so to have an informal chat about what's going on in Wrexham. So thank you very much, Sarah.
No, thank you. It's over the last few weeks, as heart-rending as it has been, it's been an absolute privilege and honour to represent the people of Wrexham through this process. Thank you.